There is a lot to talk about tonight. It was another jam-packed week of sports here at Quinnipiac. Men's soccer is right around the corner of the MAC tournament. Men's hockey is still undefeated. Lexi Agia will join our own Jacob Resnick, and Halloween tomorrow, we'll do a little trick-or-treating here on the desk. It's all happening on Bobcat Breakdown. Welcome to Bobcat Breakdown, live from Studio 125. I'm Max Schreiber. Joining me tonight on the Halloween edition of Bobcat Breakdown is Mike Dalton and Connor Ullathorne. How you guys doing tonight?
Not too bad, Max. Connor, making your debut tonight as an analyst. How's it feel?
Feels great. You know, Halloween, right around the corner. Red Sox won. Me and Mike love to hear that. I don't know about Max, but we're going to have some fun tonight.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the Red Sox. All right, let's get started. Tomorrow, the Quinnipiac men's soccer team will face off against the Monmouth Hawks in the final game of the regular season. The Bobcats are 7-1-1 in conference play, which is good for second in the MAC, while the Hawks are last in the conference at 0-9 in MAC play. Mike, let's start with you. Is the gap in the standings between the two teams really that big?
I mean, from a statistical standpoint, Max, I don't think it is that big, really. I mean, the Bobcats are only one game behind. They only have one more loss than Fairfield does, at least in conference. And, you know, you look at the last two times that these two teams have played each other. Bobcats lost to the Stags in the semifinals last year in penalty kicks. Meanwhile, they tied each other in their most recent game against each other in Fairfield. So, I mean, to me, that just looks like these two teams are as even as they can get.
Kind of agree with the one with Fairfield, but I want to focus on the game now with Monmouth. There is a massive gap between them. Monmouth has not won one conference game this year. And now it's time for Quinnipiac to get some of their younger players into this game and really trying to get rest and stay healthy for the playoffs, which is the next season that they have to get. Monmouth was ranked 6th at the beginning of the year, and Quinnipiac was 4th in the polls. But with the game against Fairfield, it's going to be something different for Fairfield. They're going to be playing Manhattan, who are ranked, I believe, 5th or 6th, and they are trying to fight for their season.
So guys, with Quinnipiac being second in the MAC and a potential #1 seed going into the MAC tournament, who on the team deserves the most credit for the Bobcats' success this season?
I'm going to take this one first, Mike. I believe it's Eric DaCosta. DaCosta has done a tremendous work when it comes to putting in Eamon Whalen. He has put him in game situations where Eamon Whalen has been thriving. And he's been taking him out, putting in Solo and Moriu, subbing him in and out at certain times. And it's been even better for him because he's had a solid defense that he has been able to coach up, give instructions to. And their back four is so disciplined that they've been able to just support DaCosta, giving instructions to Eamon Whalen, Rashawn Dolly, and basically allow those strikers to get the ball back and score some goals.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jared Mazzola here, Connor. In the 11 matches that he's played, he has an 8-3 record with 3 shutouts and a .79 goals against average. And out of those 11 matches, he's given up 1 goal or less in 10 of them. So that is 10 of his 11 matches, 1 goal or nothing. He only gave up a single goal to NC State, which, by the way, was the 8th best team in the country at the time they played them. Mazzola leads the MAC in save percentage with an .859 save percentage. He's 3rd in the MAC in saves per match. And before this season, I always referred to Chrysostomos Iakovidis, the junior goalkeeper, as Q's version of the Greek Freak. But now that I have seen Mazzola play, I mean, he's just otherworldly. There's no other way to describe it.
Mazzola's been great, definitely. He got Player of the Week this week.
Yeah, Defender of the Week.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that DaCosta, going off of that, we did know that Mazzola had an injury. And that's why Iakovidis came in for those couple games. And he's had to be creative when dealing with injuries. When people like Paulo Suarez goes down, and then Derek Parker went down, and Matthew Taylor even went down a little bit, and Hillinger went down. He has had people on the bench to be able to really give an impact and make an impact off the bench and fill in those starting roles. Next man up.
If Quinnipiac wins tomorrow afternoon and Fairfield loses, Fairfield playing Manhattan at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, the Bobcats can clinch the #1 seed going into the MAC tournament. So Mike, Do the Bobcats clinch that #1 seed?
I don't think that they're going to clinch the #1 seed. Luckily, the Bobcats are playing the Monmouth Hawks, like we've already mentioned, and they're coming into this game with an 0-9 conference record. And I don't think that the Bobcats should have a problem beating them. Fairfield Stags, they got a little bit tougher. They're playing the Manhattan Jaspers, who are fighting for a playoff spot with the Bronx of Ryder. But regardless of how badly the Jaspers need this win, I still think the Stags are going to get the job done and beat them, because the Jaspers, they lost to the current 3rd-seeded Iona Gales, and the Fairfield Stags ended up beating the Gales 2-1. So, I mean, you know, if Quinnipiac wins, that's great. They're going to go into the playoffs with that momentum. But I think the Stags, they're just an unstoppable team.
I'm going to disagree with you here. I think that,
Really?
yeah, I think Quinnipiac is going to take the 1st seed. You know why? Fairfield has been so much weaker at home than it has when it's away. And they're home versus Manhattan. Manhattan, like you said, fighting for their playoff spot. That makes a team very dangerous. Manhattan can be a dangerous team. They have 2 great strikers in Joseph Blaudy and Fortuny, I believe. Both were in the top 5 in points. And Fairfield University's last home win was back in September. They have not won at home since September. I believe that Manhattan going in there can get an edge and get a win.
All right, but how would you justify then that the Bobcats ended up tying the Fairfield Stags at Fairfield?
It's just a game. Everything's a game. And, you know, Bobcats didn't have the best game.
But these games count, don't they?
Every game counts.
Great stuff, guys. Switching things up to men's ice hockey. Quinnipiac had 2 wins this weekend against AIC. On Friday, the Bobcats won 4-1, and on Saturday by a score of 9-2. However, with AIC not being an ECAC hockey foe, do these wins even matter for the team?
You want to take it first, or should I?
You know what? I'll take this one.
All right.
You know, as we said, 9-2 blowout. Now, I don't believe these wins matter as much as everyone else think they do. In a blowout, you get your young guys playing, which they have plenty of young talent on this men's hockey team. It's a confidence game. It's about raising the confidence of young guys before going into a very tough ECAC play. These 2 games this past weekend against AIC were probably the 2 easiest ones that they have faced. They played BC, UVM, and UConn. Those are 3 tough opponents that they did really well against. So I think that the easier this game really doesn't matter because of how easy the opponent was.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Connor. You know, for those of you that don't know, AIC is in the Atlantic Hockey Conference, or AHC for short, in the NCAA. And do you know how many AHC teams were in the USCHO.com poll this week?
0.
0. 0 teams. For ECAC hockey, there were 6 teams that were in the top 20 for the USCHO.com poll. Union, Cornell, Princeton, Harvard, Dartmouth, and Quinnipiac with the cherry on top. So, and I mean, if the Bobcats don't win those ECAC hockey games, then none of this even matters. Because, you know, last year, the Bobcats, they actually went 500 in conference play, in out-of-conference play, excuse me. But then in conference play, they went under 500. And we see just how badly it affected them last year. So they have to win in the conference if they want to redeem themselves this year.
Great stuff, guys. Quinnipiac is 5-0 this season and will start ECAC hockey play this weekend on the road against Harvard and Dartmouth. Connor, this team has been on a roll. When will the Bobcats record their first loss of the season?
You know, Max, I definitely think it'll be this weekend. I don't see Quinnipiac coming out of here with 2 wins. I just don't think they will, because Harvard and Dartmouth, they're 2 very tough opponents, extremely tough. Last year, I wasn't here, but I was looking at some stats. They lost 1 game each to Harvard and Dartmouth, and they tied the other 2. So that means Quinnipiac will have something to prove if they want to win these games. You know, if they really want to stay in these USCHO rankings, excuse me, that means they have to really step up their game. Their young guys have to step up their game. Their defense has to step up their game. And I think that both the goalies need to compete and play much better.
I honestly don't think that this team is going to lose this weekend. I don't think they're going to lose until they play Cornell on November 16th. So I think for their first 4 ECAC hockey games, they're going to go 4-0. And the Bobcats, you know, and just because I don't think AIC means the AIC games mean anything, that doesn't mean I don't think that they'll do well in ECAC hockey. Harvard, they have lost one of their best goal scorers in Ryan Donato, who's currently playing for the Boston Bruins now. He got the hat trick in the 6-2 win against the Bobcats last year. So if you don't have him, then it's just 3-2, and that could be a whole different game. And I think that this team certainly has something to prove. And I mean, Dartmouth and Harvard, they're on the same level. I mean, Harvard's predicted to finish 5th in the ECAC this year. Dartmouth, they're predicted to finish 7th, just one spot ahead of Quinnipiac in the media poll. So I mean, these are two really beatable teams for the Bobcats, and I think that they got all the momentum coming in here, and a lot of the ECAC teams, they have losing records right now, so they don't have that kind of momentum that the Bobcats have right now.
I'm going to say one thing. These guys played together. Harvard and Dartmouth, they played this weekend. Dartmouth came up on the top 7-6. That's really tough, and both these games are on the road. That's why I think that Quinnipiac will not come out of here with a win.
But then again, the Bobcat defense has been playing really well. Keith Petrozelli has looked professional in net, and I think that he's going to continue that.
Well, everything is clicking on all cylinders so far for Quinnipiac this season, and everybody's talking about Chase Prisky, Odie Tufto, and Alex Whalen. But Mike, who is the unsung hero for the Bobcats thus far?
Well, I'm glad you just mentioned those 3 names, Max, because everybody talks about those 3 players in Tufto, Prisky, and Whalen. But what about the guy that sets them up, Brandon Fortunato? He leads the team in assists with 7, just got 5 in the second AIC game this weekend, and he set up all 3 of those players, like I just mentioned. And what's best about him is that he is the quiet leader of this team. And I think that's exactly what this Bobcat team needs this year, you know, and they really lacked it last year with him. And now that he has 1 year under his belt and he's playing alongside Prisky, I think, you know, we've only seen the beginning from him.
I'm going to take the other side. You took the offense, I'll take the defense. Carlos Chuksta has been outstanding so far defensively for the Bobcats. 15 blocked shots, and he has 4 assists if you really think that he doesn't contribute on the offensive side.
Well, I also see that Brandon Fortunato has a +7, so I mean, he's definitely producing a lot more than Chuksta. Chuksta is playing good defensively, I'll give you that, but I think Brandon Fortunato has just been playing, you know, good on offense and defense, and I think only Chuksta, he plays well on defense.
All right,
Chuksta,
guys. Great stuff as always. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, we will have an interview with women's ice hockey forward Lexi Agia. Later in the show, Dalton and Connor will have our Quinnipiac Athletics trick-or-treating, so everybody stay tuned.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Tonight on Sandwich News, we will determine what makes a good sandwich and a bad sandwich. First, the standard sandwich. Uninspired and frankly, a little gross. But we have here a Ray and Mike sandwich, the Cadillac of sandwiches. And if you want one, well,
come on down to Ray and Mike's at 3030 Whitney Ave, Hamden, Connecticut. Open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Qcash is accepted.
now that's a sandwich.
Let's get it going. Sports Pause starts right now.
We start tonight with some basketball coverage.
And here again, Aaron Robinson hits the shot of his life. I don't know what that celebration is, MJ, but I'm loving it.
Is that Fortnite?
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown, everyone. Tossing things over to women's soccer. The Bobcats were officially eliminated from the MAC tournament with a loss to number 3 seeded Siena this past Saturday. This was a team that was once a top 2 seed in the MAC, but they failed to win a game in October. So Dalton, let's start with you. What went wrong for the team towards the end of the season?
I think the better question is what didn't go wrong for this Bobcat team. First of all, they stopped scoring. In their last 7 matches of the year, they only scored 6 goals. And in that span, Madison Baroic had 1 assist, same thing with Al Pelletier, and Ali Grunstein had no points. The Bobcats also lost one of their key offensive players in Lauren Triglione due to injury in the middle of the season. That was a huge blow. And honestly, I think the goalkeeping was inconsistent all year. Olivia Majszewski, she had 5 shutouts, which is great, but she also had 3 games where she gave up 3 or more goals. And I mean, that's just not being consistent. And ever since she has come in here, her freshman year, she has always been consistent, giving up 1 or 2 goals here and there, but she's never had, several really bad games like that in a season.
I couldn't agree with you more, actually. Bobcats, it's ever since that loss to St. Peter's. They lost 1-0 at home. That was a changing point. They got outscored 6-12. So they only scored 6 goals compared to 12 against in that span from that St. Peter's loss to now. And speaking of leadership, Al Pelletier, 32 shots on net. She only scored 3 goals.
Yeah, I know. It's tough to believe it.
And speaking of another thing, I was looking at a really interesting stat, discipline. Discipline was the worst for Bobcats. They were first in the MAC with yellow cards and with fouls.
Good stuff, guys. Now let's move over to women's ice hockey. Quinnipiac got their first 2 wins of the season this past weekend against ECAC hockey opponents Brown and Yale. Connor, let's start with you. What was the best thing you saw from the Bobcats this weekend?
The best thing for the Bobcats? Scoring goals. They got 6 goals. They finally scored. And you know what? They finally scored on the power play. They were 0 for 20 coming into this weekend, and they finally got that goal. Things could really start up for Cass Turner and her power play teams.
I think I'm going to disagree with you here, Connor. I think the defense was really the highlight of this weekend. The 2 games, women's ice hockey team only gave up 33 total shots. That's 33 shots in 120 minutes. And Abby Ives, she stopped all 33 of them. Bobcats also did a great job of anticipating where Yale and Brown were going to pass their pucks up, heading into the center ice. Kenzie Lancaster, for example, she intercepted a puck against Brown, got a 2-on-1 opportunity, cross ice to Grace Markey, ends up scoring, and that's exactly what the Bobcats need. I mean, offense is great, but you can't really go wrong with defense. This is a very defensive-oriented team.
Can't win without scoring, Dalton,
Yeah, but you can't win without defense either. If Abby Ives isn't playing well...
If you don't score, you don't win.
Yeah, but, last year, Bobcats didn't score a lot at all, and they still managed to be around 500 with a good defense.
It's impressive to get shutouts and all that, but, you really do have to score. If you don't score, if you don't get those pucks in the back of the net, you have no chance of winning at all if that team gets one lucky bounce.
All right, guys, I got to cut you off there, but thank you. Now let's toss it to Jacob Resnick for an interview with women's hockey forward Lexi Agia. Take it away.
Lexi Agia, a freshman forward on the Quinnipiac women's ice hockey team from St. Thomas, Ontario. Lexi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So what have these last couple of months been like for you, not only starting school, but a new chapter in your hockey career?
It's definitely been an adjustment. Being 10.5 drive away from home is pretty far, and just a lot more schoolwork, and definitely the hockey's a step up, but I think I've done an okay job of adjusting, and I love it here.
What was that one thing that really sold you on this school and the program?
Honestly, I can't really pinpoint one thing. I think it was everything combined. For me, it excelled in hockey and school, so kind of the best of both worlds.
You've got Coach Turner here. How have you already started to see yourself grow as a player under Coach Turner?
There's tons of opportunities hockey-wise here, and we do video and team meetings, and for myself, I've had a ton of individual videos, so just being able to see myself in game situations and see where I can improve, and also feedback on the ice and during video has helped a lot.
Are there words that can properly describe the feeling of scoring your first goal against Maine?
Honestly, there's not really words. I think it's just something I've dreamed of and worked for since I committed here in my second year of high school. But when I scored, I turned to Sarah and I was like, was that me? Did I just score? She's like, yeah, Alexa, I'm pretty sure that was you. But yeah, just a great feeling to get that kind of monkey off my back.
Now let's talk about this team. Obviously, an 0-4 start wasn't ideal, but you guys went up against some very tough teams. How important was it for the team to play some very difficult schools?
Yeah, I think we've known since the start we have a great group, a really talented group, and I haven't experienced what I've experienced here in terms of team culture and character and how together our team is. So I know we had a little bit of a rough start, but we knew it was about time that we'd get some wins under our belt, and I think it's a huge step forward, especially to have those 2 wins in ECAC in conference. So it's a big step forward, and we'll just keep building.
You talk about believing in yourself. How far does this team believe it can go?
I think to the end. I know we're hosting the Frozen Four this year, so to play in that on home soil would be huge. So I think we all have the same goal in mind, so we're going to work to get there.
Thanks, Jacob. Make sure to watch the full interview on Q30TV.com. But moving things over to volleyball, the Bobcats recorded a big win Friday against Fairfield for the first time in program history. So Dalton, you're the volleyball guru. Will this win propel the Bobcats to a winning streak heading into the MAC tournament?
Guru, I like the sound of that, Max. I don't think they will. They're facing Marist next. Marist is the 4th best team in the conference. I don't see them winning that game. I do see them beating Siena and Niagara, though. Siena being the last place team, they have already swept them this year, and Niagara is right around the same level as the Bobcats, and the only other game I think that they are going to end up losing is Canisius.
You know, I couldn't agree with you more. I was going to say Canisius, they're ranked 2nd in the MAC. That's probably a loss for me. And then, again, against Marist Niagara, around that same level, 2 losses right there. No way they start a streak.
Awesome stuff, Mike and Connor. Now it's time for another break. When we come back, is it time to find out what part of Quinnipiac athletics is a trick and which part is a treat? See what we did there? Don't go anywhere.
If you like debate, that's a converted relief pitcher making the start because it was a doubleheader. You got no hit by a relief pitcher. You can't tell me that's not embarrassing.
Analysis.
You can see his stance, his positioning right there is excellent.
And a side of entertainment.
Is he right or is he crazy? Well, we all know the answer to that. He's a bit crazy, but I gotta say, you know.
Then join us on Bobcat Breakdown.
From the court to the ice to here on the diamond, we'll discuss everything you need to know about Quinnipiac athletics.
Bobcat Breakdown, Tuesdays at 9:30.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, let's get spooky. Halloween is tomorrow, so guys, let's do a little trick-or-treating. Men's soccer, 2nd place, Quinnipiac going up against last place Monmouth tomorrow. Is this game going to be a trick or a treat for the Bobcats?
It is a king-size treat, in my opinion. I know you don't want to underestimate your opponent, but it can't get any better than this. I mean, the Bobcats certainly have the confidence as a team to beat the Monmouth Hawks, and as long as they keep their foot on the gas pedal, I really don't see them running into any problems.
I couldn't agree with you more, except I think that it's actually a bowl of candy that you're taking instead of that king-size bar.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
It's Monmouth. They're ranked lowest in the MAC. Quinnipiac, it's going to be an easy win for them.
All right, guys, moving on to the next house for some more candy. Is the 5-0 start for the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team a trick or a treat?
Mind if I take this one?
Go ahead.
You know, I'm going to say that Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team, their start has been such a treat for everyone. But when they get into this next play, it's going to be a trick. Because they're playing Harvard, they're playing Dartmouth, they got Cornell, and you said, what was the other one?
Colgate.
Colgate, thank you. And with those 4 teams who are also ranked, it's going to be really tough competition.
I think it's a treat for now. I don't think it's a trick at the beginning because Harvard and Dartmouth are definitely 2 beatable teams. Colgate and Cornell, I can see you making a point there, but I mean, Bobcats have all the momentum going in here at 5-0, so it's got to be a treat for now.
Okay, on to ring the next doorbell. Freshman forward William Falstrom has 2 goals and 2 assists in his first 5 games. Is the start to his Quinnipiac career a trick or a treat?
It's a trick. I mean, you know, Falstrom only has 2 goals on the year, and one of those goals, it was an empty netter, so it's kind of a gimme. And both of the goals came in the UConn game. So really, he's only scored in 1 game so far. I mean, it's great that he's got the 2 assists, but I mean, look at Fortunato. He's got 8, Craig Martin's got 5, and there are plenty of others that have 3 and 4 assists already. So Wyatt Bongiovanni, I think he's been producing a lot more offensively than William Falstrom has.
You know, I think that right now it is a trick, but it will become a treat later. He has been an almond joy to watch. See what I did there?
I still think Wyatt Bongiovanni has been producing a lot more, and he would be the treat. But I can see
they've all been producing. If you look at his shot efficiency, I know that you said that Falstrom only had an empty netter, but he's 2 for 3. He's taken 3 shots this year. He scored 2 of them, and you know, I really like how he plays. So that's why I believe he will be a treat in the future.
He's also more of a face-off person, but I see your point.
Great stuff. Hopefully got a lot of candy on that segment. Now moving on to Bobcat of the Week. So guys, my Bobcat of the Week is women's hockey goalie Abby Ives. She recorded 2 consecutive shutouts against ECAC hockey opponents. Connor, Mike, who is your Bobcat of the Week?
I'll take this one first. Mine is going to be, I said goal scoring with women's hockey. We're going to go to men's hockey now. Alex Whalen gets a hat trick against AIC. Now, I know it was against AIC, but it is still very hard for any player to get a hat trick. Even when they were playing in the 3 games before that, he looked very good and very solid when I saw him playing. Great second liner for him.
Yeah, my Bobcat of the Week, Connor, is going to be Jared Mazzola. Mazzola, he had 2 shutouts this week. He played excellent against Niagara, and I think that he is, you know, the reason why this Bobcat team has gotten as far as where they have right now.
All right, guys, moving on to Final Roar. Connor, I'll start with you. What do you got?
This season, the men's Quinnipiac soccer team has exceeded all expectations. They can't finish lower than 2nd after being picked to finish 4th in the preseason poll. When they started out in non-conference play, they struggled a bit. It wasn't until conference play when they started to get the results they were striving for. They suffered only 1 loss throughout the entire MAC season, and only 1 game remains for the team. They are looking to make a strong push into the postseason, riding high on leading goal scorer Eamon Whalen with 11 goals. This team will continue to succeed into their next part of their journey, onto what I believe will be a long MAC run for the Bobcats.
The men's ice hockey team is coming out of the gate strong. So what's the biggest difference between this year and last year? The answer? Leadership. Senior Chase Prisky's heading into his 2nd year as captain, while Scott Davidson will be Prisky's right-hand man. But the Bobcats also have a lot of quiet leaders that may not make themselves heard with their voices, but more so with their play. Brandon Fortunato and Odin Tufto are 2 players that come to mind, with Tufto being able to relate to the 12-man freshman class because he was in their shoes only a year ago. Alex Whalen and Craig Martin can also help the freshman forwards adjust to the change in offensive pace at the collegiate level as well.
A week from Saturday, Quinnipiac men's basketball will open its season down in the city of brotherly love against the defending national champions and current number 9 team in the nation, the Villanova Wildcats. Nobody expects Quinnipiac to win this game, but a tough out-of-conference game against a ranked opponent can only make Quinnipiac more prepared to play against MAC opponents. Head coach Baker Dunleavy, who was an assistant coach with Villanova for 7 years and won a national title with them in 2016, knows that a nationally televised game like this will put Quinnipiac on the map to help land top-notch recruits and make Quinnipiac a household name.
So, Connor, how was it like to be on Bobcat Breakdown as an analyst this time around?
You know, it was tremendous. It was not what I was expecting. I really enjoyed preparing for it and really getting in the rhythm of it. I mean, thank you to the producers for having me on and giving me the opportunity here. And thank you for really coming in with me.
Yeah, no problem, man.
All right, everybody. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have tonight. I hope you all had as much fun as I did. Make sure to follow all of our content on Q30TV.com and theQBSN.com. And to make sure to follow all of us on Twitter at Q30Sports and at QBSN. Happy Halloween, everybody. Good night.